For 18 years, I was the invisible ghost in my own home. Ever since my father married Linda, my life had become a series of compromises, quiet compliance, and whispered apologies for simply existing. Linda wasn't the cartoonishly evil stepmother who locked me in a closet, but she possessed a cold, passive-aggressive indifference that was far worse. To her, I was an inconvenience, an extra mouth to feed, and a shadow that hovered at the edge of her perfect family portrait. My father, blinded by his desire for a peaceful second marriage, slowly let his voice fade away, leaving me to navigate Linda's quiet cruelty entirely on my own. The breaking point arrived on a stormy Tuesday, the day of my college orientation. It was a day I had worked toward for years, studying late into the night under the dim glow of a closet light so I wouldn't waste electricity or disturb Linda's sleep. I had secured a full scholarship to a prestigious university 3 hours away. All I needed was a ride to the train station with my 2 heavy suitcases. The rain was pouring in relentless sheets, flooding the streets, and public transit had crawled to a halt. An hour before my train was scheduled to depart, I stood in the hallway, my bags packed, waiting by the door. I could hear Linda and my father in the kitchen, casually discussing their plans for the evening. They were preparing to go to a high-end charity gala hosted by Linda's social club. Taking a deep breath, I walked into the kitchen and politely reminded my father of his promise to drive me to the station. Linda didn't even look up from her vanity mirror as she adjusted her diamond earrings. She sighed, a long, irritated sound, and turned to my father. "Oh, if we go to the station now, we'll miss the opening remarks." My father looked at me, a brief flash of guilt crossing his eyes, before he looked back at his wife. "But Linda, her train leaves in an hour. If she misses it, she'll miss the registration deadline." Linda dismissed his concern with a wave of her manicured hand. "She can wait," she said, her voice dripping with casual disdain. "The trains run late on days like this anyway. We will drive her when we get back tonight. It's just an orientation, Richard. She can sit here and wait. Let's go." My father hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then, he nodded quietly, grabbed his coat, and followed her out the door. The heavy click of the front lock echoed through the empty house. "She can wait." Those 3 words hung in the damp air, heavy and suffocating. As I stood alone in the quiet hallway, something shifted inside me. The years of swallowing my pride, of accepting their leftovers, and of waiting for a scrap of affection or respect suddenly crystallized into a cold, hard resolve. I looked at the grandfather clock ticking in the corner. I was done waiting. I was done letting them decide the trajectory of my life. I didn't cry. Instead, I pulled out my phone and called Mrs. Gable, our elderly neighbor who had always shown me more warmth than my own family. Within 10 minutes, her grandson pulled up to our driveway in his old, battered truck. He didn't care about the rain or the traffic. He helped me load my heavy bags into the back, and we drove through the storm in absolute silence. When I arrived at the station, the train was delayed, but I didn't mind. For the first time in my life, the wait felt like freedom. I boarded the train, found a window seat, and watched the lights of my hometown slowly fade into the rainy dark. I blocked both of their numbers on my phone. I didn't want to hear their excuses, and I certainly didn't want to hear Linda's inevitable annoyance. It was nearly midnight when Linda and my father finally returned home from their gala, laughing and shaking the rain off their expensive coats. They expected to find me sitting on the hallway bench, surrounded by my luggage, perhaps tearful and grateful for their belated help. Instead, they walked into a dark, silent house. My father walked upstairs to my room and knocked gently. Receiving no answer, he pushed the door open and turned on the light. The room was completely stripped. The bed was bare, the desk was cleared, and the hangers in the closet clattered emptily against one another. The only thing left behind was a small, white envelope resting on the empty mattress. My father opened it with trembling hands. Inside, there was no long letter of anger or resentment. There were only 4 words written in my neat, steady handwriting. I stopped waiting. Goodbye. By the time they realized the depth of what they had lost, I was already 3 hours away, stepping into a bright, unfamiliar campus. The rain had stopped, and as the morning sun began to break through the clouds, I knew I would never wait for anyone ever again.